Excellent. Hi, everyone. My name is Babur. I'm an adjunct professor at Northern Virginia Community College, and I'm also a academic chair for ATARC multi-cloud. So today I'm here to talk about Cloud Resource Factory, developing knowledgeable practitioners. So this is not a sales pitch. As you know, Nova College is it's a public college, so it's funded by taxpayers. It's funded by you. So I have some perspectives from academic perspective here to share that knowledge with you today. So I would like to start off by a quote that I recently found on LinkedIn by Simon Sinek. It says, "Protect people because in tough times, the numbers will never rush to save you." And it's good. At Nova, we build people and we use technology as an enabler to build resilient people so they can go out there and preserve and protect the mission, whether it's the government, public, private sectors. Intent is important. So the intent of this presentation is for awareness and education purposes only. So here's a short description. Nova College partners with cloud service providers to educate students with hands-on experiences and ready to teach cloud computing curriculum to prepare the next generation of workforce, even though cloud is kind of, it's not the bleeding or cutting edge anymore, because we're talking about metaverse, we're talking about space first, and a lot of cooler type of technologies, or those buzzwords at least. So cloud has been there for a long time, but we still haven't gotten a hang of it. But today I will tell you about what Nova did to close that knowledge gap as for the 2-year degrees and curriculum, and it maps to certain certification. And as we go on, I can describe more. Again, the intent, awareness, education only. So let's talk about the cloud in terms of services, just to provide some perspective. This is a screenshot that I got from FedRAMP, fedramp.gov. So as you can see, there's some cloud services that's ready to be assessed by FedRAMP, and some are in process, and then others are authorized, meaning they have passed assessment and they're good to be consumed, especially by government organizations, since FedRAMP mostly applies to US government entities and as well as contractors. So this is just providing you perspective, like there are hundreds of different cloud service providers out there, and within each ecosystem, within each cloud service providers, there are thousands of services. And we're going to touch on just a few in a second, trying to set this stage. So when we talk about some of the issues first, and then what Nova is doing to, again, fill in the gap, because education is important. So here are some observations. I stopped, using other terminologies about risks and other things, because sometimes we have overused it so many times, and I don't think it means a whole lot for a lot of people. So here are some observations. Cloud service providers are building bigger versus building better. There are a lot more, technologies and services that make the market, but then not enough knowledgeable practitioners to be able to work with all of them and then use for the organization's advantage. And therefore, a lot of breaches occur. And another observation is, working with different cloud models. There's SaaS, there's IaaS, there's PaaS, and there's, multi-cloud, there's a hybrid solution, and then your traditional cloud, which has been, around for decades, which is your traditional data centers. The recent version of traditional data center is that it's a lot more optimized. You have a lot more services and maybe some automation if you're really creative. So these are some of the observations, and I'm going to touch on a few for perspective here in a second. So let's talk about one observation was, a lot of breaches. Technology is there and people are using it, but maybe we're not using it to enable us the best that's possible. Or maybe we are enabling it, but there are gaps that we're not filling in terms of security, privacy, reliability, accountability. We talk about the CIA triad. That's great. That came out, and NIST did an amazing job with that document. But sometimes when you have 350 pages and every other word sounds the same, it's kind of difficult to interpret. It's kind of difficult to dissect. And when it's difficult to dissect, guess what happens? you end up not doing it or doing it wrong. So some of the breaches for as a conversation started, Microsoft just made the headlines again not too long ago about the Lapsus Group, supposedly a ransomware organization. A lot of people are calling them amateurs, but you know what? Amateur or not, script kiddie or not, they had the capability to go and breach one of the world's largest technology provider. So that's more of a supply chain attack. So your organization may not be getting attacked directly. Your cloud instance may not be getting attacked directly. So now adversaries going after the provider of the service. To that realm, Okta. Okta is another one. And so this one really interesting because Okta provides identity access solutions. So this is a security provider, which a lot of companies and organizations around the globe use. And supposedly same threat actor, the Lapsus is the nickname. And Lapsus, came out and said that they also breached Okta and some of Okta's customers. Yahoo, for those that are using no-cost email, and if you're still using Yahoo, that happened multiple years ago, not just that, probably multiple times. Facebook. I don't really, this happened as well. There was a breach that came out that supposedly happened around 2019. The news, it made the news a few years afterwards. So this is another no-cost service. And in terms of the Facebook, like we volunteer our data. So should we really be, disappointed or mad at Facebook and when they're not, having all the security and privacy that they should have in place? Maybe not. LinkedIn. So that's a different version of a Facebook. A lot of my friends had it, and I just got my LinkedIn account. And every time I ask, why do you have LinkedIn? They're like, well, professional connections, which is great, but it just depends on how you use it. That's a lot of personally identifiable data. In other words, business card data mostly, but then it tells a lot about you. And they were operating in a cloud environment, they were breached. And then some other, and most of the other breaches happen through misconfigured services. I talked about thousands of services, everything from databases to you name it, you can get it within a cloud service provider. So most of the breaches occur, if not through the people, it happens through misconfigured services. And then ... What else can we add to this list? Just a conversation starter. And then within the next few slides, I will tell you what Nova's doing to close the gap and close that, making that, cloud resource factory, knowledgeable practitioners. The services are coming at the speed of light, but we're not, in most cases, can keep up with it. Because as academia, as government, as nonprofit, and especially as industry, not everyone is doing their part to concentrate more on their people and really reskill them, upskill them, and provide those educational opportunities so they can keep up at least with some of the technological advances, which we call it cloud. So in academics, we try to define, problem statements, and that's how we try to provide a solution. So cloud service providers are building bigger versus building better. Cloud services are making the market quicker than the industry adoption. But educational programs help close the gap with formal education. Okay. So here's a proposed approach, and this is just one approach. As we know, cloud is global. You can access it. It's a technology that provides you access from anywhere, really, around the globe, as long as you have an internet connection, a computer, and some sort of a browser. And you should be able to get to your work environment from anywhere. So I'm going to propose to you an approach based on the breaches and based on what I just mentioned earlier to see if this is going to resonate with you. So let's talk about Nova College Cloud Degree Program. So it's a Associates of Applied Science degree. First college to offer a cloud service degree in partnership with AWS. The program launched around 2019. So it's a 2-year degree program. We were proud to say we were the first that realized that there's a knowledge gap. And then we went and partnered one of the big players within the industry, which is Amazon Web Services, and made this happen and made this possible. So some of the courses, and I'm just going to do a sample. There's about, you need about 63 credits approximately to get a 2-year degree program. However, Each course is tied to a certification. In this case, AWS certification. So some of the samples: ITN 257, cloud computing infrastructure and services. It's important to learn about the infrastructure. It's important to learn about the platform. So that's like the base, that's the foundation that all the other services are sitting on. And then ITN 213, information storage and management. So I should have defined the cloud, but I'm going to go ahead and do it here because the opportunity is there. Information storage and management. What is the cloud? Simply put, it's someone else's computer that you are either you're renting. It's like, you know, having an apartment complex, you're renting a unit. So most businesses, so that's the same concept applies to this cloud computing. So storage matters, and management of that storage matters as well. What are the adversaries after? It's your data, because your data is your currency. They don't care for the technology because technology is cost effective, cost efficient. You can go and purchase almost anything. Unlike 10 years ago, flash drive used to be, say, $20. Today, probably a couple dollars. So imagine. And then we have ITN 254, virtual infrastructure installation and configuration. Earlier, I mentioned that a lot of the breaches based on what makes the news is due to misconfiguration. And I think most of it is a human error most of the time. It was a button that someone could have toggled to, you know, harden their environment. They did not, so the adversary got a hold of it. They breached, and then they had to go back and spend millions of dollars in terms of cleanup. So installation and configuration, it's different because traditionally with traditional clouds, which is the data center, we used to be able to walk into the data center. I will never forget my first trip at a data center when I was supporting one of these government contractors down the street from where I live in Arlington. And I had a mentor. He took me to my first data center. I was like, wow, this is really awesome. We had server racks, we had everything, but unfortunately, the connection wasn't good enough for us to head the server from our office. So we physically had to walk in to this facility. So now you don't really do that because most cloud service provider does not allow you in their facilities. And there are the good reasons for it. Security is one of them, privacy, and they just want to make sure that the area is secure and only people that can access is the people that are actually working on those solutions. So now I would like to discuss some course content summary, how Nova does it. So same sample courses, so cloud computing infrastructure and services. As you can see, these are some of the topics, cloud basics and global cloud infrastructure. And then you have the credit, how many hours that the instructors and the faculty spend, and how many percentage of the course is this in terms of a semester. And then you have cloud services and common features, cloud architecture and structures. Architecture is extremely important. Imagine building a house without a blueprint. It's not going to go well for the most part. You may have to just, trial and error. You do it a lot of times and end up spending a lot of money just to get that, not so good experience. Cloud is similar. If you don't have a good architecture, you're not going to be successful in most cases. So architecture is extremely important. That's why we teach in one of these classes. Security in the cloud. Security is or cyber has been a really hot topic for a while now, and I think it's going to continue to be because we still don't have a good handle on it, because not everyone is doing their part as part of this global, technological advances. And again, if nothing else from this presentation, remember, we're building bigger versus building better. And only time we can be better is if we build security from the start. Vendor support, account management, and pricing models. Of course, like I said, you would rent an apartment, and most likely you are paying for that small piece in terms of the big cloud infrastructure and platform for your business or for your personal use. So vendor support is important. Account management is important because finances are important. And then pricing model, you want to estimate. This is kind of like a utility. The more services that you use, the higher the bill. Okay. And then, of course, assessing knowledge through quizzes, exams, and hands-on experience. All of these courses have built-in hands-on experience within the AWS in this instance, in this case. Most of, majority of the time, students are there engaging with services and working with that near real time. So it's not theoretical. So you learn about a theory and then you have to go and apply it. And application can be more difficult than just talking about it and discussing it. So another course, course content summary, information storage and management. So overview of operating systems. Well, we have to talk about operating systems because that's the biggest application that's sitting in your system. That's called the operating system. And then file systems, how does that work? And desk and media types. And desk and media, of course, most of the time, unless you are a cloud service provider, your customers don't get to see this. However, it's still there. And storage, backup, and systems. Extremely important, but no one is doing it well. And good examples are all the ransomware attacks that's happening nonstop. You would think that after lessons will be learned based on some of the early breaches, and then industry, governments, and others will take steps to protect their data in terms of backup, encryption. But unfortunately, those are the harder things to do. Those things are overlooked. So because of that, it's not getting done. And then after the fact, first responder mode is you end up spending millions of dollars more than you would have if you did it right from the beginning. So at Nova, we take this seriously and we teach and we discuss these, backup systems and what's important and what kind of storage you're going to need based on what you're trying to do in terms of your operations. So database management systems, databases, where does the data reside? Your database. So very important to go back to those topics and discuss it as well. So cloud design and architecture principles and best practices. So architecture is the foundation I said earlier. So that's embedded, just like the DNA in every single class. Because if you don't understand the architecture, if you don't get the logical diagram of it, again, you may have a lot of flaws. Once in a while, people may get lucky because they're just super smart. They have done this many times. They don't have to put it on paper. But there are other, other problems with that as well. So, and then, of course, to validate knowledge, we have exams, quizzes, and hands-on demonstrations. So last but not least, in terms of course content summary, virtual infrastructure installation and configuration. Excuse me, so here are some of the topics: building virtual servers, Windows servers, Linux servers, highly available systems for business continuity and support. Maybe some automation and things of that nature using Docker containers, Kubernetes, and other cool technologies that make processes easier for those that know how to apply them. Designing cost optimized cloud computing environments. So how can you save cost? I mentioned cloud is kind of like utilities, like electric bill or your water bill. You keep the electricity on all the time, your bill is higher. You use it as needed, not so much. And then there are some applications, some services, some of the servers have to be on all the time, just like your refrigerator is on all the time as a utility. Then you have that baseline saying that I need this no matter what, so they can stay on. So application deployment, lifecycle of application deployment, very important. So both in terms of waterfall approaches and in terms of more agile. Agile is amazing because it provides you that opportunity to, do fast, figure out fast. And if it happens to be a failure, you want to know that, it's not going to work out, instead of like spending like weeks and weeks and months, maybe spend a couple of days to do the proof of concept to figure this out. And then best practices in cloud computing and network design. So a lot of what we work with is software nowadays. That's true for industry. Unless you're a cloud service provider, of course, you have to manage your data centers and then the bottom line infrastructure, all those servers and stuff. But most of us as consumers, and even in academia, we're working with software. So software design networking. Similar in concept, it can be extremely tricky, especially if you are used to touching and feeling the network device. Now you have to make it work within software. It can be difficult. And then again, validation of your knowledge, exams, quizzes, and assessments. So those were just some examples about Nova's program. Let me give you some perspective in terms of statistics. I mentioned that this was launched in 2019. So what is that, about 2 years? So almost 2.5 years. So number of faculty teaching the course, total 12. Full-time, we have 5 full-time faculty and 7 adjuncts. So faculty are trained and certified in the courses that they teach. Extremely important. This is a college requirement. If you don't have specific training, you're not qualified to teach the course. Why does training matter? Well, you have to have the experience with the technology you're teaching, especially with the cloud. It can be tricky because it's non-traditional. And you have to be certified. Certification just validates your knowledge in those core competencies within those services that you are teaching and that the students are learning about. In terms of the students, and these are estimates, I don't have the college figures, but I have been in plenty of formal and informal discussions to come up with these estimates. So please don't go out on social media and quote me, he said, this money. But this is really close. IT in 213, I'm just gonna go with that, the sample courses, we had about 250 students. 254, about 200, and then IT in 257, almost 1,200. So those are pretty good numbers, and some are in pipeline, some have already graduated, some have already taken a course and went through the certification path, just to get a foot in the door quicker in the industry and start applying their knowledge. But these are pretty impressive numbers because in total, 1,650. So that's pretty good in 2 years. That's 1,650 people that have better knowledge, and not just better knowledge, specific knowledge about cloud computing surrounding AWS in here. So these were some of the examples and some of the statistics, and we're not going to stop here. This is just the beginning. We were the first to bring a college degree in cloud computing, and we're going to continue to add to this program and grow so we can continue through our students and faculty, give back to our communities, our industry, and our country. So you might say, what's next for the program? Well, what's next? Let's discuss that. AWS was the first partnership, and there are current efforts, ongoing efforts in terms of others. I'm not going to name who they are, but you can probably figure out in terms of who are the biggest players globally, in terms of cloud service providers. So that's what's next, and this is in the plans. The talks are happening. This is the next phase, so that you can bring different sets of technologies with similar concepts, and then having the students learn about these in terms of management of it. Some people call it day 2 operations, as well as in terms of efficiencies. I haven't seen a 2 cloud service provider. In concept, they offer the similar services, but on how you apply it can be different. So this is what's next, and I'll just stop at this in terms of the program aspects, and hopefully as we continue the discussions later on, we have more to share with you. So here's my ask from you, industry, government, nonprofit, and other members of the academia that's not already partnered with Nova. So join the force. Technology, cyber, cloud is a team sport. One person, one organization have not been able to be successful, and they will never be successful because this is a team sport. So are you a cloud service provider? We would love to hear from you, and would like to consider adding your services into our portfolio of educational resources. So do you want to contribute to creating courses and drafting course content summaries? Let's make it happen. You reach out to us. I said, my boss is here, KK. You reach out to us. Let's start the conversation and see how we can leverage your skill sets and industry knowledge. Are you a leader that wants to be nominated to serve on the Nova College IT Advisory Board? Let's talk. And we have the chairman of the board on this call today as well. So would you like to hire from Nova? I didn't talk about the size. And not in terms of the numbers. We have the numbers, almost 100,000 people. That's students and faculty. And we have representations from 180 nationalities. That means diverse intellectual capacity. And if anyone, and Nova is the biggest feeder school to all the other Virginia schools and beyond. So put that into perspective. That means talent, that means knowledge, and that means hands-on experience based on what I said about our courses and course content summary. So Nova is embedded in the DNA of Virginia and the US as the biggest entity, both in terms of numbers as well as intellectual capacity. Some of the most intelligent folks with amazing backgrounds, whether it's military, whether it's like transitioning from a job to get to a different career field, or upskilling. We have some curious folks as well. They do cyber now. They're like, I really want to know what the cloud degree looks like. Let me just take a class. And in terms of cost effective. So no better partner than Nova when it comes to cloud as well as technology programs. So appreciate ATARC, Kirsten, for providing this opportunity to chat with you today. Happy to take any questions.
Barbara, this is Manjeet. Great presentation. Thank you. I was not aware of this. So this is very eye-opening. I would love to chat with you more. I've sent you a private message over LinkedIn. But in terms of the program, is it primarily AWS focused, or does it also touch upon Azure or Google Cloud?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and thank you for your feedback, Manjit. And I will check out your message that you sent me on LinkedIn, and I will share my email over here as well. So let's step back a bit. And I said this was the first offering back in 2019 when we were trying to figure it out, prototype, and we went with majority AWS. But in terms of the actual courses, faculty have the leadway to add other cloud services. Okay, so our main partnership right now, as we speak, is AWS. And other talks are happening. You mentioned I cannot authoritatively speak on like who our leadership is talking with. Hypothetically speaking, just for scenario purposes, all the major cloud providers, say Microsoft, Google, maybe Oracle, maybe somebody else. Okay, so, and again, please do not quote me on this. You know who those people are. And then local community as well. And then I don't want to discount something else. There are major players that are also sometimes called smaller cloud service providers. They're really niche. They provide some amazing opportunities for a core group of businesses. Okay, so you have a specific set, and I'll give you the DoD example, because what I see in ATARC is a lot of colleagues and partners from the DoD world. So maybe not all the cloud service providers, even though I pulled up FedRAMP earlier, it's going to meet your needs. So sometimes it doesn't have to be Microsoft. You may have to look on something else, somebody else. Okay, so it's important to put that in there. And hopefully that answers your question. I would love to engage with you, and I would love to get you to talk to my leadership from school as well. And again, just to bring it back, not a sales pitch, because we are here because of your taxpayer. You pay taxes, so your taxes enable Nova to do better and give back. And don't forget, we build people. Okay, we're in the people business, knowledge business versus products. We're just leveraging products as an enabler. Excellent. Anybody else?
Hey, Chris, what's the U.S. Digital core, number one? And then also, how do folks, what else can they do to help you, right? So obviously we want to get them to use the students, but also what other ways can they help what you guys are doing?
Excellent. Great question, Michael. Let me go back a slide. So here, multiple different ways, not all inclusive. You can provide expertise. You can potentially be considered for the IT advisory board, which all the curriculums go through, which Michael, you are the chair of right now. And they can just informal discussions, come and talk to us. Come and talk about some of your needs. What's your pain point in terms of knowledgeable cloud practitioners? Or come and present to a class, share your knowledge informally. So there are many different ways you can do that. Do you have a white paper that we could use for a class? So we can go ahead and go after it as well. So we're open to perspective because, like I said earlier, no one entity, no one individual has gotten this right, and they will never get it right. It's a team sport. Let's play it together. And as long as we play it as a team, as long as we are listening to each other and then giving back to the community, it's a winning game. Thank you for that. Excellent.
Mike, you had a question about digital core too?
Yeah, I did. I asked Chris because he put that in the chat, and I was.
Yeah, I just wrote my understanding of it. I'm an ITC, so if anyone from TTS wants to chime in there and correct me, but I think it's a 2-year fellowship for recent college grads to kind of get them into the tech pipeline of government service. That was recently launched 6 months ago. I think it was in August.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had
6 months or
I had
so
heard of-
right now. We're going through the 2022 cohort team, and then we're considering 2023 as well for TTS. Hi, this is Sid. Yeah, Chris, you hit it on the head there. It is longer than an internship. It is a fellowship, and it actually, is attuned to what TTS is looking to hire for a longer term. So at the end of it, you will come out with the experience of working for different agencies the GSA conducts business with. Not only that, but also when you come out, you actually know what is a feasible path for you to make that into a longer transition. A lot of the federal government employees coming in from the tech sector and from the industry usually do tours of duty. Like, for example, they come in, they work for 4, 6, or 8 years. This is a 2-year shorter term for new grads to, understand the federal need and understand the federal need for, new talent.
Is this open to 2-year associate degrees, or does it have to be a 4-year grad?
I'm not quite sure. I need to get back to you on that.
Yeah, could we talk more about that? I mean, I heard about this program before, and I had thought about this with Nova, but that was one of my questions, and so maybe we can connect later and we could follow up about that, because I think this would be a good path, and that's part of the kind of internships with industry, but also if we can do some of these things with government, because it gets young folks understanding how to work within the government space, which is a different animal than industry.
Yeah, I'm gonna paste here email address that you can drop in any question, and you will get a response pretty promptly.
Okay. Is there anyone I can connect to so that I can try and, we're looking at this as a, I'm trying to do partnerships and relationships with folks, with these guys, these young folks. So I'll ask the question, but is there any contacts that I could get to?
Mike, I can send you, someone reached out to me a year ago to join their efforts at Digital Gov. So I'll see if I'll do a history search in my email and forward it to you. The
Okay.
contacts, yeah. So they walked me through the process, but it was a while ago, so I don't recall. And then I think, Chris, I'm not sure if I met you at the ServiceNow forum. Did you attend? Did I meet you through, or it was a digital core representative, but I thought he had a similar name, Chris Robinson, but no, it wasn't you. It was.
It might have been through the ATARC 5G working group. That's
Yeah, no, this digital core, I met him through Jonathan Album. He introduced me at the ServiceNow Federal Forum a month ago. So, but
I've been on parental leave for the last 5 months, so I'm just.
Yeah, oh, good for you. Great. But I'll do a search. I'll let him know that the organization had reached out to me a year ago. So I was wondering how things had been progressing since then. So I'll see what I can find in my email history and shoot it over to you.
Excellent. I love the dialogue. I think this is great. Any other observations, questions, comments, concerns? Any volunteers that want to help us out?
Yeah, Barbara, I would like to help, but I want to learn more and understand that, where I can add most value.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk offline. But I mean, again, I'm just blown away that this is in our backyard and I didn't hear about it. I didn't know about it until now. So, so let's talk about it, because I also posted here, right, where we have several open positions and we've been struggling to fill them. And if there are students graduating with your 2-year degree program, would be perfect candidates, because the customer is willing to hire people just fresh with a college degree. So,
Yeah, good observation, Manjit. Let me tell you my point of view on why you don't hear about us. I think traditionally, and this still happens, unfortunately, in 2022, certain organizations discount 2-year college degree programs. Let's take Nova, for instance. You hear about community college, they're like, not good enough. Second class education, second class citizen, and some of the terminologies. However, industry needs to get it right though, because I said we are the biggest feeder schools. That means out of the 70,000 or so students in different majors, they're going to GW, George Mason, Virginia Tech, UVA, and we have a lot of pathways to these colleges. You have to have a certain number of, your GPA has to be a certain amount, and you have to have gone through a certain curriculum so you can transfer there. So a lot of the foundational stuff starts at Nova, plus cost effective.
Yeah,
You're right on, leverage the people. They're dying to work for companies. So
Yeah.
why not leverage them? Team sport, if we do our part as part of this really gigantic picture, and I'm not even gonna get to multi-cloud because that's a discussion for next Friday.
Yeah.
So then I think we can do better. And we have everything. It's just a matter of how you're gonna use it. I'm a
Well,
firm believer in that.
I was having this conversation earlier today with Coast Guard actually about scarcity, professional service scarcity. And but they still have, hey, we need a junior program with 12 years of experience or 10 years of experience. And, that's not a junior person. And they don't need that person. And so they're causing their own problems because contractors can't provide those because of the scarcity issue, just in the DMV area, but across the nation. So and we're increasing. So I do believe, and obviously I believe in it because I'm involved with it, but I do believe that we need to kind of shift. And I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but even in the IT services world, you had certificates, you had 2-year, you had 4-year, you had master's degree, PhD, right? So you don't need an architect with a master's degree to do a lot of the stuff that's at the operational level and management level. So trying to convince folks of that sometimes it can be difficult. But I think as scarcity kind of builds, that there'll be more of an ear for it.
Absolutely. Michael, to add to your point, your best architects are those that have hands-on experience.
Yes.
I can talk in theory all you want. And then what are you going to do if you give me a job to do? Be like, hey, I want a resilient system. Resiliency means take anything, keep going still. Any type of a head, security, privacy, whatever that may be. So that happens with hands-on experience, and we have it on Nova, and I think we can do more of it, especially with the communities help like ATARC.
Yep.
And then the most important position, most valuable, is your tier 1 help desk. No matter if you're the CEO, C-suite, it doesn't matter. If your help desk does not pick up the phone and change your password, you will never be able to get into that environment. So that's another perspective. Excellent. Eric, what do you think? Charber, Anthony? Me being a teacher, I like to, call on people sometimes just to provide that opportunity, because sometimes we have some amazing perspectives, but we just don't get to share it.
I apologize. I was pretty late, so I heard the tail end of it. I can tell you that I did my master's in information technology systems degree at GW, but I did my prerequisites at Nova.
There you go.
And I would,
Prime example.
I would say that the beauty of Nova is that the actual practitioners were teaching the class. I think when I did a C# class, the actual author of the book was the instructor, which is weird. But I do think that within the federal sector, it's hard to market that one, because there's an elitism associated with where you went to school, what type of degree you have, and you have to challenge the archaic HR hiring processes, along with how the contracting officers control exactly what type of vendors you bring in and what the expertise is. So, I just 2 weeks ago debating a CO about some folks I want to bring on that can do some data engineering work for us, but I couldn't actually verify or validate them because the original contract asked for Azure experience, but they had a wealth of experience in other CSPs. So it took 3 hours of me explaining to a CO and the CO's assistants, this is doable. If you want to actually meet me halfway, let's require them within 9-month increments, getting certain Azure certifications. but that's silly. But to make you happy, we can do that. So the challenge is actually at the top. You got to begin to force folks who are making these decisions, whether it's federal employees you're hiring or vendors, that you do not always have to hire somebody with a 4-year degree to do some of the major technical work that you're going to need in federal agencies.
Great point, Anthony. Would love to see you in one of our classrooms as a speaker. You're an alum. And part of that is, I mentioned earlier, we're building bigger, not better, in an educational aspect. When there's like a huge pipeline of technologies coming at you, and there's a directive that says cloud first approach for the federal government, what do you think your contract folks are doing? Maybe they're not getting the proper training to understand what cloud is and how it works. Maybe in some cases, they don't even understand what the intent is. They were told to go to cloud, but did anyone tell you why? People are like, oh, cost saving. Initial costs are really steep for those that have done it, but then long-term, it's gonna balance out. So that there's a lot that goes into this, and it's just, yeah, unfortunately, you may need AWS skill sets. They're like, yeah, just Azure, or they're too prescriptive. In concept, all of them are saying, if you can do Azure really well, you can take the concepts and then learn the technology aspect. And just say it takes some, passion and motivation, or really hard work to find that passion and motivation to learn technology quicker. So this is cloud. What's going to happen when we get to metaverse? Because metaverse is going to leverage the cloud as well. FedHive, are you ready?
Absolutely.
There you go. That's what I want to hear. So top-down approach. Start
right.
thinking down the path, pathway as well. Yeah, awesome. Kirsten, any thoughts? Final words is yours. Thank you for the opportunity.
This is just, yeah, no, thank you. This is great. It really resonates with me. And I totally agree. I think there's so much value to be had in starting off at a 2-year school and then deciding what your path is after that. It's not, yeah, there's some sort of, at least when I was in school, when I was graduating high school, I guess it's like 10 years ago at this point, but there was a stigma associated with it. And that's really silly. That shouldn't be the case. I don't know how we can make it cool. You know what I mean? How to like push that with, because I personally didn't know there was another option. I thought it was like for your university, no other choice. There you go. Probably was a mistake. I think I wasted a lot of money partying the first couple of years at least.
That's important too.
Well,
yeah. And not knowing what I wanted to do or what was actually going to be, it wasn't until past college in my adult life that I figured it out. But I just think that this is really amazing, and I hope we can help you take it to the next level.
Absolutely. So Kirsten, for reference, I barely graduated college, 2.4 GPA. It was the fraternity life, but I'm grateful for it because I did it then. And then, through experiences, I'm where at now. And then second, for bragging purposes, Nova sent some students to Skills USA competition in cyber. It was a hackathon. We had 2 gold medalists, 2 silver. So they're going to be going to nationals. So skill set is there. Those hard worker people are there. And again, how are we going to realize that and start doing things differently? We cannot shift cultures. I'm not even going to talk about culture change, but we can shift mindsets.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you to everyone who joined and great questions. I love the dialogue and looking forward to the next one. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Bye.